Oncologists of Reddit. What's something that you never always do or eat because of what you know about cancer? Story 1. Tobacco anything. Never. Adult beverage should really be never, but I consume it only lightly. Screenings. Never skipping one when it is recommended. All this to say I still got breast cancer at the ripe age of 36, so sometimes you just can't do much about bad luck. Answer. My mom had a relatively rare form of cancer. Rare enough that when I tell gynecologists about it, she had adenosquamous carcinoma of the vaginal wall. They mention how rare it is and that they don't hear about it often. It's even weirder that it started in the vaginal wall and never spread to her cervix. It could have been caused by HPV. They didn't think it was HPV related in her case at that time because it was before the vaccine was available. The only real answer they had was that a cell or two developed wrong and her body didn't catch it in time, so it became a cancer, which is true of all cancers. Something about that haunts me. One day, regardless of my own decisions, a cell or two could develop wrong, and I'd have to go through horrific treatments or die. My dad recently died of lung cancer, and his decisions and previous jobs definitely led to it. He smoked for most of his life, and he worked some jobs where he definitely inhaled some things people shouldn't really inhale. One job was a book press in the 70s, where the paper and ink dust were thick in the air. Everyone he worked with, even the non-smokers, developed heart and lung issues. Most people don't really think about it, but there's a lot of bleaching agents and preservatives in paper that should not be inhaled. It was mostly the cigarettes, though. His lungs were regularly monitored before he developed cancer, and he quit smoking and did chemo, immunotherapy, and some spot radiation. Didn't make a darn difference, and he died anyway. Just a few cells developing wrong until nothing could save him. People definitely should avoid carcinogens, but the way it just takes a few cells developing wrong and avoiding the immune system's defenses, it's horrifying. Story 2. Not an oncologist, but I'm a radiation therapist, so I treat cancer patients every day. Obviously, there are lifestyle habits you should avoid because they are linked to certain cancers or considered risk factors associated with certain cancers. That being said, one hard truth I've learned in my years of doing this job is cancer really doesn't discriminate. If it comes for you, it comes for you. I've treated 11-month-old babies with brain tumors. A woman who never smoked a cigarette or had a drink in her life and did not have the BRCA gene and got cancer in not one, but both breasts 11 years apart, both primaries and not related to the other, triathletes with leukemia. It's an evil and unfair disease. Now, I'm in a specialized field where I only treat skin cancers with a superficial treatment machine, so I see less passing and despair. My best piece of advice is wear sunscreen and get your moles and spots checked. Health insurance typically covers a yearly total skin check at a dermatologist. Answer. Hey, I'm not sure if you'll see this or if this would be a question that is answerable, but how do I know if my dermatologist is any good, giving me a good exam? I saw a new one this year, and the exam lasted like all of 5 minutes. She barely asked any questions, and looked at my skin through that handheld light thing, but from like 3 feet away. I feel very sketched out by it, but I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. I am a classic redhead, very fair-skinned and spotted like a giraffe, so I really try not to miss any dermatological exams. Story 3. Oncology nurse here. I would never skip recommended cancer screenings, and I would never ignore weird unexplained symptoms. Sudden weight loss, blood coming out your butt, ongoing abdominal pain, excessive bleeding or bruising, odd skin lesions, swollen lymph nodes that aren't related to acute illness. It's heartbreaking when people ignore symptoms and don't get diagnosed until the cancer is too advanced for treatment to be helpful. Also, am a big fan of sunscreen. Surgeries to remove skin cancer can do some gnarly things to your face. Answer. The sad part is a lot of patients don't ignore it, and doctors don't help. I feel like going to the doctor, the way medical care and insurance is in America. You have to be dying of something obvious to get any kind of help. Every time I go to the doctor, it's the same thing. Me. Hey, I have this problem. Doctor. Cool. Let's run tests. Me. Okay. Goes to get the test done. Me. K. What's up? Doctor. Your tests look normal. Me. Okay. So what does that mean for my problem? Doctor. Don't know. Come back in 6 months and we'll do it again. 300 later, it really feels kind of pointless. I just keep living with whatever was wrong and hope it goes away on its own. It feels discouraging to keep paying for something and not get any answers. Story 4. Cancer biologist, researcher of 20 years. Avoid all tobacco. Don't skip screenings. Limit adult beverage. Try your best to control your weight. Use as little plastic as possible for food storage and drinkware. Glass is best, and never put plastic in the microwave. Story 5. Reading all this, I'm surprised I have made it this far. Maybe I should start riding a motorcycle to increase my chances of not dying from cancer. Answer. My dad was in a motorcycle accident on Monday when a deer appeared over the hill. He wasn't wearing a helmet, dumb, but his injuries were just scraped knees and really bad elbow scrapes. One required surgery for cleaning and to re-anchor the tricep. He has limited elbow mobility while his arms are wrapped up, but he's otherwise fine. But the hospital x-rayed everything and scanned his head, and now he has to schedule follow-ups for the mass in his lung and the fatty tumor in his brain. If the brain blip isn't congenital and/or the lung mass isn't a clod of dirt, not uncommon in, Oklahoma, then this accident could save his life. Story 6. Please don't say coffee. 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 Answer. My favorite study about coffee and its relation to cancer risk is a study of metadata from many different coffee cancer risk studies, showing pretty much any result you could possibly imagine. They were pretty evenly scattered between definitely going to die of cancer after 1 cup and basically a cure for cancer. I will say that I think the biggest thing is not drinking enough to reduce your sleep. I think that control shifted it quite a bit towards the good side. Story 7. Bone marrow transplant hematology oncologist here. Do not smoke. It doesn't matter what it is, no smoking. Also increase your fiber and avoid areca and betel nuts, and get the HPV vaccine. 9-valent now available up to age 45. Story 8. I'm an oncology nurse and I go out of my way to never heat anything up in plastic. I go out of my way to not buy any drinks that are in plastic. I also pretty much drink adult beverage maybe once or twice a year. Sunscreen no matter what daily physical activity, no matter what. Story 9. Former fellow of the National Cancer Institute, here I dislike to tell you this, but it's adult beverage. It directly causes at least 7 kinds of cancer. 20 years from now, we will talk about adult beverage the way we talk about cigarettes today. Answer. Can I ask a possibly silly question? Is there a safe amount of adult beverage? And does it matter what you drink? For example, I drink at the most once a week when I'm days to nights, and I will have a few glasses of wine or maybe a Negroni or old-fashioned or 2. I never go to the pub and believe that I drink in absolute moderation. I've thought about quitting totally. Should I? Hope you don't mind me asking. Story 10. Oncologist here. Don't smoke. Maintain a healthy weight. Eat and drink what you want within this framework. Adult beverage in moderation is fine. Cancer is a partly genetics, partly exposure, and mostly just age and bad luck. Answer: thanks for your comment. I think people too often think it is more complicated than this and are looking to try to have more control than they actually have over their cancer risk. There are certain things that are known to increase risk, so we don't need to do a deep dive into other speculative risks if we pay attention to the data we have about the major risks, of which not all are in our control. And yeah, I got breast cancer at 56 or 57, and I don't blame myself. I live reasonably healthy, especially with respect to adult beverage and smoking, but I see it as mostly age, luck, and family history. Shoot happens. Appreciate you chiming in here. Story 11. Cancer researcher here. You can do everything right and still get cancer. You can do everything wrong, smoke, drink, be fat, etc., and not get cancer. It's bad luck and genetics. Story 12. My best friend's mom is a breast cancer specialist who previously worked in the ER. And, this is real, she says the number one behavior she rails against is riding motorcycles. So many gruesome deaths. You can fight cancer, but you can't scrape that body back off the ground or reattach heads. Also, smoking is bad. Answer: I worked at a place that helped to decide who gets what kidney. I was just doing data entry, but I would take smoke breaks with one of the head doctors. The irony was not lost on us. Every time he saw someone go by on a motorcycle, he would occasionally say, "There goes another future donor. Sometimes I think we should thank them for their service while they are still with us." Made me realize why my dad sold his amazing motorcycle when I was 15 and 34s. Story 13. Vaping, exactly because we don't know if it causes cancer. When I gave up smoking, everyone pushed me to switch to vaping, and I was like, "No thanks, bro. I have no interest in being a guinea pig for this technology, which will inevitably be found to cause 28 different cancers, and will probably steal your girlfriend too." Answer: I feel like people want vaping to cause cancer. Vaping has been around for a solid 15 years now. With the advanced diagnostics we have now, we don't have to wait another 15 years to know if there are precancerous pulmonary developments. I've yet to see a study pointing to vaping being implicated with cancer in humans. Every study is some degree of "we detected bad compounds in a vape." Even the 2019 PNAS study on mice, if I read it right, had mice breathing vape fumes for 4 hours a day. And these mice were genetically susceptible to lung cancer. It's odd that 6 years later we don't have replication of findings or more conclusive evidence. Heck, there's not even a documented case study of vaping causing lung cancer. Go ask ChatGPT if you don't believe me. I'm not saying it's harmless, but neither is a ton of other things we gladly shove down our gullets or smear on our skin. Story 14. I will always make sure my nieces and nephews are well protected in the sun. Sunburn, especially in childhood, is what significantly increases the risk for melanoma. I also nag at my other family members about good sun protection, as it is prolonged sun exposure that increases the risk of non-melanoma skin cancers. Wear your sun cream, people, and do not use sunbeds. Story 15. Not an oncologist, but my late father was. Don't smoke, don't drink adult beverage, don't be overweight, wear sunscreen, minimize eating pork. Eat fibrous vegetables, foods containing turmeric. Don't hesitate to advocate for yourself when using health professionals. And if they are tossing up whether to go gently or radically, always opt for radically, because one day you'll need the radical surgery anyway, and by then you'll be less likely to fully recover. One other thing he swore by was having a social life, because happy and supported patients last longer even when terminal. My old man died aged 80. Of the irony, a rare cancer with a genetic link, so my own advice is always to keep your MOT screening appointments with the GP. Answer: disagree about the radical surgery. I work in oncology research, and most of our studies are related to de-escalation of care because we're over-treating lots of patients. I work in breast lung primarily, and we have lots of genomic testing to tell us how aggressive we need to treat a cancer. Really don't need to go after everything with 100 of your resources if you have the same chances of recurrence and same survivability with 50 of resources. Story 16. I work in path, meaning I'm a doc who uses a microscope to see the fudge-up cells taken out of the PT and order whatever molecular-based, immunology-based workup for the actual docs, it's immunohistochemistry, for identification and prognostication. On one point, I've seen cancers linked to years of smoking and adult beverage use. I've seen cases of colon and cervical cancers in people who've neglected their screenings. I've seen PTs with more risk factors than a rap sheet have a mildly dysplastic growth on their insert anatomical part here and live perfectly normally afterwards, on the other hand. Just like many of the people who've commented here, there's been a rise in number of PTs with late stage, stage 2, 3 ARVO, breast, cervical, ovarian, lung, stomach, kidney, etc. cancers in PTs with few, if any, risk factors, the cause of which is still unknown as to what's driving this increase. Whoever finds out why more Gen Xers and millennials are getting cancer at such higher incidence rates than BBs will win a Nobel. In essence, eliminate whatever bad habits you can, such as smoking and drinking. Get exercise, eat fiber, but don't see it as a guarantee against cancer. No one is too young to get it. Youngest colorectal case I saw was in their early 20s, but raising up symptoms with a doc who actually cares is important. Too many of the old-school BB docs blowing off symptoms when there's been a massive rise in LAMNs, aggressive ovarian cancers, and diffuse gastric adenocarcinoma in this country. In addition, targeted therapy and immunotherapy, plus targeted radiation and/or new chemo protocols for leukemias and solid tumors, has grown exponentially, mainly due to advances in molecular characterization. Just recently, as of 2 months ago, we are testing for a certain molecule common in GI cancers that, if present in someone's tumor, renders them eligible for a newly developed targeted therapy option. Story 17. Not an oncologist, but I had an air pollution lecturer once state that he does not eat barbecued food because of the charring and smoke residue carcinogen levels. Story 18. As someone who grew up with an oncologist in the family, though they are now retired, I can share they don't eat red meat. They eat a balanced diet of fish poultry, lots of fruits, vegetables, and 1 sweet a day. They take daily vitamins, supplements. They drink adult beverage very rarely, special occasions, holidays, etc. Keep it to 1 to 2 beers. No tobacco substances. Walk daily, lift weights twice a week at 80 years old. No pesticides on the lawn. As if it eliminate one type of vegetation, it will eliminate all of the innocent critters, eventually us. And wears sunscreen daily, SPF 30. Story 19. This is less for what one can do for oneself and more to keep an eye out for. Along with chance, genetics, smoking, and adult beverage, a difficult childhood with adverse experiences can also significantly increase chances of cancer. A kid can have been in a bad home and do everything right and get hit with cancer because their caretakers didn't do right. Published CDC review. Story 20. My Sil has always been insanely healthy. Her degree is in nutrition. She is very active, never smoked, rarely drank. She is 58 and has terminal breast cancer. Story 21. It's already been said a bunch, but hard agree, so I'll repeat it again. Do not smoke tobacco. Do not drink adult beverage. Always get your screening anything, but I feel extra strong about colonoscopies. Never ignore bloody stools. Story 22. Cancer nurse here. If you get any unusual symptoms such as lethargy, swollen glands, pain, weight loss, night sweats, a cough that won't go away, etc., go get a simple blood test. If you're bloated, have abdomen or back pain, changes in urine color, headaches that persists, breathing changes, get an X-ray kit ultrasound. If your GP dismisses you and doesn't investigate at all, go get a better GP. The amount of patients that have been diagnosed late have usually been to their GP a few times and not had any tests performed. You can't always prevent cancer, but you can certainly catch it early and give yourself a better chance of beating it. Story 23. Not oncologist, but hospice nurse. End-stage alcoholic liver disease is the most horrifying way to go, and doing what I do has completely changed my relationship with adult beverage. Story 24. Hematopathologist here. I never use herbicide, plant substance treatments, on my lawn. I've seen too many childhood leukemous lymphomas, especially in children of parents who work in lawn care. I also don't smoke or drink adult beverage. Story 25. RN breast cancer survivor. Avoid cigarettes, adult beverage. There is no safe amount for cancer. Obesity increases risk of cancer and heart disease. It's especially bad for breast cancer. Sedentary lifestyle increases risk. Avoid sugar, nitrates in lunch, meats, pork, and grilled meat. Processed foods, plastics, especially water bottles. Do eat fresh fruits and veggies. Move your body. Add whole grains and fiber to avoid colon cancer. Specifically, add fermented foods for gut health yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, etc. Drink coffee up to 3 cups. Daily decreases, passing from all causes, cancer included, mind. Body wellness such as yoga and mediation are also helpful. I was shocked to learn that 150 minutes of exercise weekly reduces my breast cancer recurrence risk by 40. The shoot therapies I'm on only reduce it by 50 and cause tons of side effects. I knew exercise was good for you and I've always been active, but I really stepped up my game and walk 3-5 miles 5 days a week now. Story 26. Not an ounce, however, as a doctor, I have to say, limit your adult beverage consumption and get daily exercise. There is no way of cancer-proofing. You can take steps, however, it's also largely genetic, non-avoidable exposures. One thing I'll add, the better shape you are when you do get sick, the better you will handle the treatment. Story 27. Not an oncologist, but I am anesthesia and do many an anesthetic for these. Unexplained weight loss is always bad, thyroid issue or cancer, blood in stool sputum, daily headaches worse in the AM, night sweats, lymphadenopathy, lumps and bumps, moles that look odd. Get skin cancer checks, screenings, don't smoke. Limit adult beverage. Try to be healthy weight, but alas, much is genetic. Story 28. Oncology genetic counselor here. It's literally my job to figure out if someone's cancer is due to inherited risk and assess lifestyle risk factors that contribute to diagnoses. Things I would never do. Smoke increases risk for lung, breast, pancreatic, colon cancers, and more. Adult beverage. There is no safe amount. Increases risk for colon, pancreatic, breast cancers, and more. I tell my patients to limit it to weddings and funerals if they can. Aspartame in many diet sodas may increase risk for colon cancers. Eat too much red meat, no more than 2 servings weekly on average. increases risk for colon cancer. Controversial, join the armed services in the US. The number of people who developed cancer because of something they were exposed to while serving is just mind-blowing. Camp Lejeune, asbestos in the Navy, the tar pits, Agent Orange, etc., etc., etc. Always recommended. Keep your primary care informed about your family history of cancer and other conditions, but that's not our focus here, because it may give you access to earlier or enhanced screening. Screenings, mammogram, colonoscopies, prostate, skin. Exercise, 30 min of cardiovascular exercise 3 times. A week is correlated with a lower breast cancer risk. Keep a healthy body weight, too much, and the risk for uterine, colon, breast cancer, and more increases. Fiber reduces risk of colon cancer. Sunscreen, basal cell carcinoma, is the most common cancer in the world. Talk to your doctor if you're experiencing any ongoing unexplained symptoms, especially weight loss, fatigue, blood rectally or unexpected vaginally, pain, new lumps, bumps, skin lesions, new changing moles, ongoing diarrhea, constipation. 2-week rule can help distinguish a random symptom from something that's more concerning. I like to tell patients it's probably not cancer, but with your family history, talk to your doctor and make sure. My biggest advice, do what you can to improve your lifestyle and do the screenings to hopefully catch diagnoses that are out of our control. Story 29. All you MFs in here trying to extend your life, have you not had a good gander of how the world is now? Eat the cake, drink the wine, enjoy that bacon. We're all gonna die anyway, why not enjoy the few things available to us? In addition, my mom never smoked or drank and ate healthier and exercised more than any one old person I knew, yet she died of a nasty throat-mouth head cancer that did her in a couple of years ago at the age of 76. My dad drinks like a fish and smoked for 25 years, and at 78 he's still kicking with minor health issues. It's the luck of the draw, in my opinion. Cancer. I mean, my dad got a cancer diagnosis with a horrible prognosis, like 10 2-year survival rate, but managed to beat the odds and live for another 3 years with good quality of life because his high cholesterol diagnosis a few years before had him making the boring healthy dietary choices that they tell slightly overweight middle-aged men to make so they don't get heart attacks. Switching from meatball subs to veggie subs, eating Canadian bacon instead of regular bacon, all that stuff put him really far ahead of most men his age in terms of cardiovascular health. Because of that, he got years of quality time with his family, in spite of undergoing multiple intense chemo treatments with metastatic lung cancer. Making healthy choices might not prevent cancer, but it will increase the odds of surviving your cancer treatments. Story 30. It struck me the other week that no one on my oncology care team is overweight, so answering for them, don't get fat. Story 31. Oncology nurse, 0 tobacco, 0 adult beverage, regular exercise. Do my best to get enough fiber and stay as hydrated as I can. Story 32. Hemonki NP here. Smoking is a big one. I don't smoke and avoid secondhand smoke. I avoid plastic and silicone utensils being used with hot foods. Adult beverage ideally should be avoided, but I consume in moderation. I'm significantly more cautious about adult beverage intake since getting into this specialty. Red meats are a sometimes treat. I also do my best to avoid overly processed foods now as well. Story 33. Something that always surprised my breast cancer patients is when I tell them to avoid vitamins, especially antioxidants, as they could be associated with more risk of recurrence and dying from cancer if you take them while on cancer treatment or even before treatment. There is a lot of information regarding this issue with contradictory results, but until we get better information, it is logical to be cautious about vitamins. Here is one of the articles I base my recommendation. Story 34. Fiber antioxidants in the diet. I do a shot of high polyphenol olive oil each day. Sunscreen, plenty of exercise. I cut out adult beverage except special events. Protect your gut microbiome from unnecessary antibiotics. Our healthy bacteria keeps our immune system in balance and is linked to better cancer surveillance. That's what I preach in my neuro-oncology clinic anyway. Story 35. Tobacco of any kind. Oropharyngeal cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer. It goes on. It's literally one of, if not the most modifiable risk factor. Smokers are some of the sickest and highest risk patients in medicine. Story 36. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. 20-wire smoker, heavy and light drinking, 45 yars, various substances, physical recklessness, 10 wars, very bad diet, 30 wars, 60, cancer-free sister has never smoked, done substances, light drinker, decent diet exercise, cancer at 55. I will say that while being currently cancer-free is great, there are plenty of reasons to take better care of